Hey, hey. Hello, and welcome to the weekly CoachRx Podcast Network Live. I selected this fun intro music. Hope y'all appreciate that for the first few minutes. Wonder if I can pause it now. Awesome. Okay. Well, while we wait for folks to join in and for the coaches to join in, let me share screen. So, for all of you that don't know, we have an amazing podcast network of awesome coaches who are creating killer content, weekly episodes for y'all. So, check this out on the CoachRx site. Hit the podcast under resources. You'll get an overview of all of the shows in our lineup. You can subscribe to each of the individual coaches' shows. Some are on all platforms, some are on YouTube only, some are on Spotify, on any mix of those. And then I also do some roundup blogs, which you'll find if you head to the articles section of our site and you filter by podcasts. You'll see that for both marketing for fitness coaches and for frameworks, I do individual episode blogs, but I will also do these biweekly roundups, which will aggregate the top episodes or all the episodes actually produced by the network for that 2-week period and give you a kind of overview of what the episode is and link you off directly to those episodes as well. So be sure to check out the roundups. Those also go out by email if you're subscribed to OPEX and CoachRx emails. Lastly, just as an update until anyone pops in with us, last week or the last 2 weeks, we've rolled out some new free guides. So Carl's released his top 3 coaching frameworks, along with 3 different episodes that go deep dive into each of those frameworks. So get the PDF here. And then I also released the one-page marketing plan, which walks you through the 5-part marketing system that my show is built around. And you can get that downloadable PDF. It'll also drop you into 5 marketing mistakes often made by fitness coaches and how to fix them series. So be sure to check that out. And I gotta catch my breath. These lives always run up on me where I'm like working away and then I'm like, oh man, I gotta go live. Let me put some lipstick on and run the Dyson air wrap through my hair just so I look like I didn't work out this morning and then start working right away, which is basically what I do every morning. So as mentioned, check that out. Check out all the shows. And today we were going to have a couple of different coaches join. We'll have 2 still joining us. One, I wanted to start by saying a big congratulations to Ryan Bucciantini, who is Jason Leiden's co-host on the Conquer Athlete pod, who just had a beautiful baby girl. He messaged this morning saying that was official. I know we've mentioned that on the last couple of episodes, saying it was going to be any moment now, but I don't know if you all can see. How do they do that? How do the influencers do that? Ooh, but here's Ryan and his beautiful baby. So that's super exciting. So he's going to be MIA for a few weeks. Jason will have to hold it down on his own and we'll miss him on the lives. And then Brandon Gallagher, unfortunately, had his shoulder injured yesterday in BJJ. So unfortunate event. He's doing all right. He's headed to the doctor and may pop in at some point, but I think most likely not. So I think those are the updates. And David should be joining us pretty soon. So keep in mind the chat is open. You all can drop any questions that you have for me or for the coaches, or just anything that you want to say in the chat wherever you are. We will see it. What's up, David?
How's it going? I'm trying to figure out how to switch my mic over so you can actually hear me better.
Technical difficulties.
Then I go into the settings page and I can't get back
While
to this
David is
video
getting
page.
set up, I am highlighting his Instagram. So you can find David here on Instagram. Let's see what he shared this morning. Something cool. I saw something cool. I saw a cool training session. You can always catch David rocking the, we might have lost him. I think he might have dropped out. Nope, he's back. There you are. David is rocking the father figure, not the dad bod, which I think we should just like coin that term.
I think it's better. Like, even if you're not talking about your physique, I think being a father figure just elevates the level of dating that you're doing.
Agree. I couldn't agree more. How's your week going?
My week is off to a good start. Yeah, it's a busy week. Lots of programming this week.
Awesome. Everything
Yeah.
kind of smooth sailing, or did anything pop up that was unexpected as you've gotten in? Well, it's only Tuesday, but
Nothing unexpected so far. Just a new client starting yesterday, and then someone on their second week. So just kind of like that bulk programming, not trying to get too far ahead of myself on their programs because I need some feedback. Just different than someone who's been around for 6 months, where you can program them out a little farther because you know how they're going to respond. This is more, um, feeling each other out, trying to make sure things are working. A couple little injuries for both people that we're trying to work around with some very specific goals. So yeah, just putting my thinking cap on.
I love that. Do you typically do like a pretty robust intake and initial consultation, or do you kind of skip the intake, go straight to the initial consultation? What's your flow like?
So at this point, what I'll typically do, if it's someone who already knows me, then, and I know them, I will often just send them my intake form because it is very thorough. If it's someone who I've only interacted with, say, like via Instagram, and we don't know a whole lot about each other, then we'll do a discovery call first. And if we both agree it's going to be a good fit and they're okay with the pricing, then I will send them the intake form to fill out so that I have all the data to input into CoachRx where I can review it and like kind of have my notes up as I'm writing their training blocks and like be able to look at their equipment list and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
today I'm super unprepared, other than I do have a couple of questions I wanted to float your way.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like a commonly talked about topic when you're like, trends that need to die or trends that need to go away. But I thought it'd be interesting to get your guys' take on like, yeah, coaching trends of recent that you think need to go away.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I've got two because I saw this question coming right in the group chat. So the first one is more social media oriented, but I think it trickles into real life, and in real life it becomes very uncomfortable. But on social media, it's just like the norm, and that is this idea of building your own personal brand solely by bashing other people, like the reaction video trend that is getting coaches to blow up. Um, I think it's dumb. It's universally negative. I've yet to see anyone who has grown their social media by like having positive reactions to other people doing training that they're like, hey, this is great. And let me tell you why. It's always, this is dumb. Um, and I think that's because they know that audiences like the sensationalist. Yeah, of course, like doing a banded overhead squat on two Bosu balls stacked on top of each other is dumb. And now I'm just going to like emotionally yell about why I agree that it's dumb. And it makes people be like, oh, that reputable coach thinks the same way I do. Wow, I must be smart, but it's too obvious. So I think that's dumb. I think I literally yesterday saw a reaction video to a reaction video. And in my head, I was like, I hope this is the beginning of the end. Like, if we're recording ourselves, watching someone who recorded themselves, watching someone else's content, like, I don't know what the next level is. That's got to be like just peak useless content.
You're right.
So I
It
really
does
don't like that.
skew really negative when
It's
most
super
time when you see
negative.
it. The only one I can think of that I have seen fairly recent who's done it in a positive spin is Brett Contreras.
Mm,
Have you seen the
yes,
ones that he does? So he'll typically
I
will like,
have seen the one that he does. Yeah, yeah. I think the only thing that and I think Brett's obviously very educated, super intelligent, has found a ton of success for a lot of the right reasons. The only thing I don't love about that, and this comes from a couple like female coaches that I've talked to, is like there's also something weird about like male fitness person building their brand by like watching women do glute training and then commenting on it. Like,
yeah,
I also don't know if that's like how I'd want to build trust necessarily.
yeah. I mean, and if you're Brett, that's like your business, right? You
That's your
built
business.
gyms, you
Yes.
built, you built
Yes.
everything around it. I do
Yes.
think, yeah, he tends to, and I mean, to his credit, I think he tends to keep it as classy as you can. But yeah, like that's definitely a thought for sure. And like
Yeah.
in general, women don't typically want to be critiqued. I think he does it pretty positively where it's like he'll show the girl up and he's kind of like, blank face as he's watching the day of training that she's walking through, and he'll really highlight like the good things. And he tends
Yes.
to kind of avoid saying, I think, the things that she could be doing better. Maybe if he does, they're like a little bit softer. But yeah, I think even if it was a woman critiquing a woman, you'd be asking for some backlash there because I don't think women would want another woman critiquing them either.
Yeah. And so that gets to the point of like, you also have some of the trends, at least in like the fitness content space, of people getting pretty upset about getting caught on camera, right? And so this, like, can you imagine if your content was built around like you just sort of, I'm filming myself watching someone in real life, now watch me go up and tell them why what they're doing is dumb. Like, you would do that once and either get in a fight or get like kicked out of that gym.
Yeah.
So it's
And
just
the
this
silly
weird,
thing
like,
about
I get
too
to
is I
sit
feel
in
like
my room
most,
and
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I think it's just one of those. It's kind of like cyberbullying in the same way of like this only exists on the internet because the person can't do anything about
Yeah. I was just going to say too, I think, well, most influencers who are posting full day of training or train glutes with me or whatever it is they're posting, a lot of times that's not even actually their real training. Like the amount of times that I'm in the gym and I see women in particular going to hit their session and like literally just filming 5 exercises, 3 reps for whatever the content they're producing, but they're not actually training. Or maybe that's just them like recapping what they did a different day, or I don't know. But
it.
I think most people's content, it doesn't truly reflect what they actually do.
No, I agree. I don't know. It's tough. It's one of those you kind of have to accept, depending on what you want to do with your content, is like the. I mean, I think about it from like a filmmaking standpoint. A documentary is never going to get as many views as like a blockbuster movie, right? Like we all know superheroes aren't real, but that's like kind of the appeal of watching it, right? Whereas like watching Planet Earth on Netflix, in theory, you could make an argument it'd be way more important for everyone to watch all the Planet Earths than it is to watch all the Avengers. Like you'd have a potentially like a better understanding of our planet by watching our planet, but it's just not going to happen because you'd rather like disconnect and watch some crazy science sci-fi thing. And so I don't know. There's a strategy to content creation, and I think you kind of have to make a decision. Am I an entertainer or an educator? And then like not get frustrated by the results you get once you've made that decision.
Yeah. I wonder, does this ever come up with clients? Obviously, they need to film for you to give them feedback, form checks, just
Hmm.
technique improvements, or for you to understand like the intensity of their set, etc. Do they have a stigma, or is there less or more of a stigma around their comfortability filming themselves in a gym setting? Has that changed over the last couple of years? And also, did they have that trust me, I'm not an influencer, I'm just filming for my coach kind of vibe when they're filming?
Oh, yeah. I would say that depends the most on what gym they're in. And so, yes, I get more videos from people who train in a home gym or like a private space that has very few members and often is like not crowded. And then the hardest one is the people who work in, like, for example, an Equinox in Hollywood, where it's like, I was able to film this one set from this weird angle because it was the only way I wasn't going to get anyone else in the shot. And I actually had my camera set up in a different position. And someone literally was like, hey, I'm going to be in your camera. And so I had to move it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, for sure. With your lifters, I guess that are more competitive in nature, and I mean, I'm sure that there's great reasons to film for anyone to film and send you footage along their fitness journey. But for those that are maybe like pushing more toward comp prep, and you really do need to check intensity at top sets and things like that. Do you have any specifics that you like require them to do from a shot perspective that are, I guess, helpful for anyone to know and be aware of?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's talk. Well, so I specifically work with people who are competing in powerlifting, where competition standards are very specific, and you can really catch it on video. So we can talk about that. And I would say that's one of the that's one of the physical gym locations where I think filming is the most widely accepted, almost to an excess, is powerlifting gyms. Like everyone's filming their deadlifts, everyone's filming their
And
squats,
everyone has a
everyone's filming
tripod,
their
right? It's
bench.
not like they're like
Everyone has
propping
a
it up
try,
on the floor.
and half of them have like very expensive cameras. And you're like, your camera, it's sort of like going back to it's like don't have a 10-cent squat and $100 shoes. It's like you have like a 50-cent deadlift and a $500 camera. Like I don't know that that's necessary right now, but that's a whole nother topic. So for powerlifting, yes, the closer they are to competition, the more I will actually put in a note in their training session, like film your top set. Sometimes it'll be film a top set from this angle. So the squat is the first movement in the competition. The number one thing that causes problems on the squat is not hitting depth. It's not having the crease of your hip get below the top of your knee, depending on the federation. Sometimes now they're trying to say like the greater trochanter below like the peak of the quad. I don't know how anyone's seeing that with a black singlet on, but there's an element of like your hip must be below your knee. And so filming from the side is really the only way to see that. That's why in powerlifting, there's a judge on both sides. Filming from the front doesn't tell me a whole lot of anything because you can really mask depth from the front. The only thing that's better to see from the front is if there's any up and down. Like, did you start going up, the bar started to go back down, and then you like tried harder and stood back up, because that is a red light on the platform. So squats, I'm looking for video from the side, usually camera set up about the height of the hip. That's where you're going to see it the best. I really like it as a coach because I can slow it down and then I can like give feedback. For the bench press, you're looking, I like them to film more like, if possible, I tend to have them film kind of like from a 45-degree angle from the knee, like extending out from the knee or extending out from the hip. What you're looking for there is there any like uneven lockout of the bar? Does the bar go up and start to come back down? And then the thing that gets the most people on bench press, other than just not pausing long enough, like not waiting for the command or training as if it's going to be a quick command, and then they get on the platform and you've got a head judge who's giving you a 2-second pause, is people don't realize they're not going to get the press command if the bar is moving at all. So you'll have people who like they're a little unstable on the way down and it continues to be unstable once it's on their chest. And they don't know that the judge is going to be waiting for that bar to completely stop. And so they get pissed because they've got a 4-second pause. They're like, the bar was on my chest, and it was on their chest, but it was going right and left or like side to side, and they're just not going to get the command. So seeing one angle, you can see a lot on the bench press. And then deadlift is another one where you want to see an angle, probably from, again, like a 45-degree, sort of like splitting the difference between right dead center facing them and the side. The side is a good angle, but sometimes the plates block the view of their hip. What you're looking for in the deadlift is, are your hips locked out and are your shoulders in line with or behind your hips? Is unfortunately the other thing that gets people is they deadlift with like a rounded upper back. And if you lock your hips out, but your shoulders are in front of your hips, you won't get a down command. You'll just be standing there holding it. They'll eventually tell you down and give you 2 red lights, and you won't understand why. So those are my big ones for powerlifters. And yes, I ask for more video the closer we are to competition. And then I also ask for video if I'm using RPE to help, as the coach, help them judge, was that truly, a 9 out of 10 effort? Or was that more like an 8 because it moved really fast? Was that actually, I wanted an 8, that was like a 9.5, like you went too heavy? And that's particularly helpful for people who are not training in a powerlifting gym full of other people who know how to help them figure out their RPE.
Yeah. Gosh, I think that's tough too. I mean, for a lot of people, but even if you're like, okay, is this truly an RPE 7 or 8 for me today? I guess what are some of the things that you look for to like judge effort against the RPE spectrum you've prescribed when you're analyzing video and then giving that feedback to a client?
I think a big thing is the speed of the rep. That's probably the number one, right? When it starts to significantly slow down, right? The 5th rep is notably slower than the 4th. The 6th rep is, again, even slower than the 5th. Then it's like that's probably getting into that 8.5 or up, where you might have one more rep to on a crazy day where you just like find something deep inside of you to help you keep standing up or not put the bar down. Those are probably, so movement speed is probably number one. A total change in position or technique. So use a squat, for example. If you usually squat and you keep your chest pretty upright, and then you have a rep where your chest comes forward, I know that you're now needing to use glutes more than quads, and then that's going to put more load on your low back. So you probably don't have a lot of reps where your form looks different than when you're fresh. And then the one other thing I think is helpful is including AMRAPs earlier in a training block, having them go to either true objective failure with a spotter or under a lighter load where they feel less at risk. Like go to, you're like, there's no way I'm doing another one. And then being able to compare how that looked to the set of 2 at RPE 9 versus like an AMRAP at 70% of their max, and seeing what the last rep looked like versus the second rep of that set of 2. I want those to look fairly similar. So those are 2.
Something that you just made me think about too is like, there's so much nuance that goes into this on the coaching side too, right? For especially when you really do need to push those upper levels of intensity at appropriate times in training blocks for especially athletes competing. Like your mindset, obviously going into the session is going to impact like your ability or your perception of the effort you're giving, or your rest the night before, obviously the meals that you've had the day. So I guess what's a little bit of the direction you're giving people that are needing to push in that upper end of the spectrum to make sure that like not only are they able to effectively gauge what they're giving you in that session, but also like really ready to give it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I've switched it. I used to do Mondays. Now I do Fridays. Every Friday, my one-on-one online clients get a weekly readiness check. So I'm getting an idea of how the previous 7 days went for nutrition, for sleep, for stress, and then anything coming up the following week that we'll need to adjust for. So, if it's a female client and there's a part of their cycle that's coming up, and they are one of the people that tends to have a dip in strength or performance during certain parts of their cycle, and it's consistent every single time, then I know that an RPE, I love RPE in that setting because the percentage is going to be totally inaccurate. So that may be something where it's like, I actually had you at a single at 90%. I'm going to switch that to a single at like RPE 8 because I don't want you to get in your head about how heavy your warm-ups felt, and you have to have this 90% or else it's a bad training session. So I think knowing how the previous week was, if they have a big meeting, if they know they're not going to get a lot of sleep, if they've been out of town the weekend before, those are just things I'm probably thinking about that could impact their training positively or negatively. Like you said, like that mental readiness to push at that upper level. And then I would say the other thing is that I don't go RPE right away with almost any client. I typically spend quite a bit of time on percentage-based training so that I have an opportunity to say, like, what do you think the RPE was of that 4x4 at 77.5%? And then, like, let's also look at the video of your 4th set and see if we agree. So that then I, as a coach, I get a feel for like, some clients might never be good RPE training people. They might always prefer, I'm one of those people. I prefer percentages. I'll adjust on the fly if I need to, but I know myself. I'm more of a sandbagger when it comes to RPE because I don't want to hurt myself. Like, I'm not the person who's going to be like, I'm going to squat this or die trying. I've never had that mentality. So I would rather just like take these little incremental percentage-based long play approach to training. And some people are like, that percentage felt too easy for the 3rd week in a row. Like, what are we doing? Like, I want to send it. And I just don't usually want to send it. That's not my personality. So yeah, I think it's kind of a combination of like on a week-to-week basis, understanding what they've kind of been through and what's coming up. And then over time, trying to get this feel of like, are you able to accurately gauge the intensity? Do we agree based on the video and how you felt at a certain percentage? And then that also gives me an ability to say, I think an RPE 9 for a double is probably in that like 90+% range for of your max. And so here's kind of a ballpark of where I think your number is going to be. If you're having an awesome day, it's an RPE based session, you can go heavier. Like that's allowed. Um, if you're feeling like shit, then you can go a little lighter. But we have this idea of where an RPE number is going to fall compared to the percentage.
So important for you too to like really know the person and their personality too, right? I see
Yes.
Charlie has to load cap a lot of his clients because there are those men who want to like constantly be hitting new number targets. So he's like gives them an RPE but says like you're capped at this particular
Yeah.
mark today.
Yeah. I've got one client right now, and it's Emily. She's done. I think this is her third or fourth. I'm blanking. She's competed a lot recently. Third meet with me, I want to say, but this is her first RPE meet prep, and she was worried um, because she felt like she wouldn't go heavy enough. So initially it was, so we had the conversation. If at any point you want to switch back to percentages, let's just do that. I think your maxes are going to be higher than they were the last time you competed, and I don't want to max test you right now because it actually hasn't even been that long since you competed. I want to just jump into a prep to try and get a national qualifying total. And so she set PRs on all 3 lifts within the last 10 days that we would not have done had it been percentage based.
That's
So
awesome.
it
How
would
close
have
is she to the
unfortunately
next comp
capped
and how many weeks has she been switching to the RPE method?
this. I want to say this is a short peak because her competitions were close. Something like 7-week peak. It was like 3 weeks, a little like a reload week, and then another 3 weeks where it was like really high intensity, and then she competes a week from Saturday. And
Awesome.
she
And you guys are
should have a
feeling good?
national. Yeah, we should. Oh yeah, I think the only goal of this meet really is national qualifying total for USAPL, and she should have that on her second attempts, and like opening deadlift.
This is the beauty of going live because I had zero intention of like going hard on powerlifting today. But since we are, are most of your athletes USAPL or is anyone going powerlifting America? Obviously, my husband just made this flip.
Yeah, I have mostly USAPL and then USPA.
Oh,
USPA is
untested,
bigger
right?
and bigger. You can do tested or untested.
Okay.
They will have tested meets, untested meets. They will have like a tested day, untested day for a full weekend. But USPA in Arizona stayed pretty strong, even when they had a bunch of controversy going on, however long ago that was. And I already had a bunch of people in that federation, and so they wanted to stay because a lot of them are masters lifters, and they're like, no, I want to keep breaking that record that I already have. Like, I don't want to switch. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
WRPF kind of blew up here for a year, and
Yeah.
now there's some other new federation. I have a hard time keeping track of what's happening in powerlifting, to be honest. It's sort of the Wild West. It's
Yeah.
like
I had
if there
always
were
been
8
around
different football
USAPL
leagues.
and then when Charlie made the switch last year to powerlifting America, just I went to his first local meet here and then he was set to go to nationals, but then had the injury. So that's kind of the aim for next year. But there's a great local gym that he trains at called Wade Strength. And the
Mm-hmm.
husband and wife who own Wade are also like chairs and host meets here locally all over the place.
Yes, yes. Emily, the other big thing for Emily is actually that made the RPE block effective was she started training at Barbell Brigade. So this is her first full prep, all being done at a powerlifting gym around a bunch of other people who exclusively powerlift. So
And
like all the
competitive
right
equipment and
bars,
calibrated
all the
plates.
kilo plate, yeah, all the kilo plates, all the things. And so she's had plenty of days where it was 2 sets of 2 at this RPE, and she's like, everyone in the gym told me my second set was not heavy enough. I put 10 more pounds on and got it. It's like that's the beauty of a powerlifting gym.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just such a difference, right? When you have, even if you don't have bumper plates like in a CrossFit box, but you're in like a regular gym, just the bars are different, the bend is different. Like you have so much reverb from regular plates.
Oh yeah, it's all different. It's all different, and the more you can practice how you play. I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's maybe not this dramatic, but you're training with like bumper plates at a 24-hour fitness, or even like an Equinox or a Lifetime or something, it would honestly almost be like trying to play basketball with a soccer ball, and then like you go to the game and they have an actual basketball. You're like, whoa, this does not feel the same. Like it's smaller versus bigger. It's like rougher versus like smoother. It's bouncier and not bouncier. Like people don't realize how different barbells are and how different plates are.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I'm flipping to my question so we don't get
Okay.
too off track. Not that it matters. We can go out as off track as you want to go.
Yeah, this is
Um,
live.
what did I say? Oh, this is maybe kind of connected to this thought, but like when you have clients that come to you with a very specific goal, and they're fired up about it, as we all are when we start to take on new fitness goals, and that intensity or desire around that goal starts to wane, and you notice compliance slipping. What are some of the things that you do, or the conversations that you have to either like address if that goal is still the goal and we're still connected to it, or to keep the focus back toward that goal so that progress continues?
I got two. So if it's an issue of they do feel the goal is still important. So let's just say the first question is like, is this still the goal you want to train for? Or do we want to start training for a different goal? Both of which are appropriate answers, right? I think there's absolutely no reason that 90% of people should feel any guilt about being like, I thought I wanted to do this. I started doing it. I don't want to do it. Can we go do something else? And the answer is like, yeah, absolutely. Um, so if the answer is yes, I'm just, for whatever reason, the motivation is starting to wane. Ideally, I'm able to kind of go back to their intake form, because one of the questions I'll ask is, fast forward 3 months, what will make this coaching client relationship and training relationship feel successful, right? What have you accomplished? Who is celebrating with you? Like, what are you able to do now? How does that impact your life outside the gym? And sometimes that's kind of all that is necessary to get them back on track, is a reminder of like all the people outside themselves who they were thinking about, and their relationship with them, and the quality of time they would get to spend with them, and the activities they could do. And that's why they wanted to train in the first place. And they kind of got like lost in the sauce of trying to learn all these new exercises and watching videos and remembering to do their Friday check-ins and all this stuff. And you have to like go back to like, okay, let's zoom out. The whole point was like, you couldn't go on a hike with your kids this summer, and you want to be able to do that last summer. Is that still motivating? Like, oh yeah, of course. It's like, okay, well, those step ups are part of the deal, right? Um, and if the answer is no, then the answer is no. I don't think I want to pursue this goal anymore. Then it's a matter of, okay, what do you want to pursue? Same question, like trying to like get really deep into the why, multiple layers, and then just starting a new training plan.
Yeah. How often do you think, or how often does that happen in your everyday experience, where it's like the goal is no longer the priority and we need to reevaluate the goal? Like, I don't know, midway there.
I kind of feel like there's two types of people. There's either a person who can go years and it's like, no, goal's still the goal. And those are the people usually, it's like the goal is just, I need to consistently exercise, I need accountability, and I need a plan to look at and do. Right. And I don't even have like a very specific activity. It's just like, I like exercising. I like working out. I found that when I don't have someone to hold me accountable, it just falls off, even though I enjoy it. And those people are so easy to program and coach. It's awesome, right? They do the things. They're the people who in CoachRx have like a 87 workout streak of not missing anything, but you haven't even heard from them in 3 months. You're just like, you're just doing the thing. This is amazing. Um, and then there's people who are like constantly changing. Uh, Unexpected travel. Um, I joined this new gym. My friends signed up for this thing, right? My husband wants to work out with me now. Um, and yeah, I can't give you an exact kind of number of like how frequently that conversation is coming up. I do try and have like at least one 30-minute call with my one-on-one clients per month if they want it. So yeah, it's I don't know. I like to have a balance of both. If I had 20 clients and they were all just like, yep, repeat that block, yep, repeat that block, yep, I'm just going to do the same thing but heavier, I think I'd get bored. And if I had 20 clients who were like every 3 weeks trying to change their goal, I think I would want to fire all of them.
Do you find that of your roster currently, are people pretty specifically pursuing some type of goal or outcome, or how many of them are just like lifestyle clients that are like, hey, I just want to feel good, look good, move well, make sure I'm enjoying the process?
Most recently, the newer people who have come on have been way more specifically goal oriented, and it's been pretty diverse. So anything from I want to get as functionally strong as possible before a pretty major surgical procedure, so I have a baseline, and then I also am going to have you help me get even stronger than ever afterward. And there's like, this is the date of the surgery, right? Or someone who's like, here is the date of a 16-hour mountain bike race. Last season, I didn't have a strength coach. I had a bunch of IT band pain, right? Here's my training calendar for my cycling coach. The workouts need to like fit with my long rides. And again, it's like, here's a date on a calendar. Or again, like someone I just onboarded, dad, competitive, like starting to get sponsorships in pickleball, history of ankle injury, history of shoulder injury, loves being like super competitive. I went to college with him. Getting back into ultimate frisbee, hamstring strain history. I'm going to screenshot you my entire work schedule plus family schedule, and I need you to fit things around this type of thing. Yeah, so I've had a lot more of that where it's been like a lot more touch points, a lot of like weekly adaptation. I've loved actually, you didn't set me up for this, I promise. I love the new feature where I can give the client the ability to move their workouts around in their own calendar for people like this. It's so helpful to give them that option,
Yeah.
especially for the competitive ones who don't want to see missed workouts when they're like, I told you I couldn't work out today. It's like, I couldn't have time to move it. So they can do that themselves, which has been super cool.
Yeah, that it is. That's the first of several features that will be classified under this like client autonomy functionality that we'd love to build out. But including, as you progress the relationship with clients for them, and you have enough of a relationship and rapport to know they're ready for things like that, to be able to swap exercises, change exercise order as appropriate for the goal of the session based on like how busy the gym is.
Yeah.
And also eventually get to a point where they're designing and you're approving, if that's
Oh,
because I know we have a lot of coaches who coach other coaches, and part
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
same.
process is that mentorship piece. And so allowing them to have certain, freedoms and then learn from the experience is kind of the goal of that set of features.
Cool. That sounds awesome. I have a
You
few
don't
people
have
who have
access
hired me
yet to
specifically as
the lifestyle beta,
mentor.
right?
Not the most recent one. I think I had one from a couple months ago.
I'll have to see if I can sneak you in, but coming
Yeah.
soon. There's like people that are already starting to share the access with connected devices and connected health data, and the trends and visualization that you have access to on the coaching side. Really, really cool stuff coming, especially for like what you were mentioning earlier, for those clients who, you're evaluating kind of readiness. You can spot trends across different categories and then be able to use that as intelligence when programming, obviously, or going into consults and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like one of the potential futures for like the highly educated fitness professional is kind of like parallel to the idea of like a concierge physician. And I know there are some people who do that, right? Who play that role for elite athletes and like just elite individuals, where it's like, I'm going to kind of manage all the things you do. I'm going to have a small number of clients at a high price point because I'm spending a lot of time looking at all the stuff you send me. I'm responding, like I'm ready to adapt kind of constantly across multiple domains. I think that's cool. And it takes a lot of data to do that well.
What percentage of your roster is pretty on top of any health data that's coming in off wearables and things like that?
More again, kind of more recently, like the endurance, a couple endurance athletes obviously freaking love that stuff. It's like as many Strava screenshots as they can possibly send. I'm getting them. So I've had questions actually. That's been a theme is, can I connect this with Strava? Can I connect this with my Garmin? Can I connect this with the macro stacks app that I'm using, whatever. Um, I personally don't. I'm not a big tracking guy, but yeah, I would say, especially on the endurance side, I'm getting a lot more of that, and just more people who are like the 30-year-old whose goal is longevity, and they've got the Aura ring and they've got all this stuff, and they're really into the weeds in a good way, mostly with like all that stuff.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. Well, Jason is jumping in to join us. That was a lot of fun. David, thanks
Good,
so much for chatting.
absolutely, and I'll talk to you soon and get to talk, I think, some education stuff with Carl tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, have a great session. Let me know how it goes.
I will, for sure. Alrighty,
Yeah.
talk soon.
Oh, let me add you back. There you are. What's up?
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Rocking and rolling. You got some beautiful scenery behind you.
You know, I'm at the same place I was last week. I just figured I'd change the scenery so you guys wouldn't be staring at a brick wall.
Well, that looks great. That's beautiful. You're in Florida, right?
No, Connecticut.
Connecticut. Why did I think? No, you were in Florida for Disney World, right? That's why I thought that.
Yes. Yeah, I was there for, visiting Disney. Yeah,
Okay. Well, Connecticut is beautiful and green. Have you guys been having like a nice end of the summer?
yeah. It was really hot. So Connecticut gets like really hot and humid. So for a while it was nasty, but it's really nice right now. But I'm
Oh,
savoring it. Like I don't care because pretty soon it's gonna be dark at like 3:30, and it sucks. You know.
yeah, that is the hardest part. I remember actually when I lived in Boise, Idaho, because it's so close to Alaska, the summers would get so long that it would be light until like 10 p.m. in the evening, and I'm like trying to go to sleep and it's light outside, which is also not fun.
If you're not used to that, that gets hard. I was with my client at the World Championship for powerlifting, and it was in Canada. I forgot where, but same thing. Like it was late till like 10, and I was like, this is so weird to me right now. Like it was like challenging to get to bed. You know?
Yeah. So weird. Well, I have
Yeah.
your most recent post up today because I really loved like your message here. So I just thought I would give you a chance to kind of share what was going on in your weekly or daily diary.
Yeah. So I just think a lot of times complexity can be a huge blockage for people where they overthink things, and it comes back to what we were talking about last time of getting information isn't the issue. It's being able to decipher between the good stuff and the stuff that's crap. And it's very easy to get confused in this day and age with fitness and eating healthy and what you should be doing, when if you simplify it, you just move, right? Just move and try not to overcomplex things. And I gave 4 questions that can help guide people with how they should be moving, right? With what's your goal and what's your timeline, and then what determines success for you, and how can you measure that success over time, and then putting a plan in place around that, and keeping it simple. Keep it simple and then build from there.
I love that. One of the thoughts that I had this morning when I was like, thinking about things we could chat about today, one of the things I shared with you guys in the group was this thought around people's connection to their goals and how over time the level of like excitement they have around achieving that goal can fade, and your role as a coach in keeping them either connected to or forced to reevaluate that goal, and what that process is like with you and athletes. I just thought it'd be interesting to kind of get your take on whatever that thought opened up.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, a great point. A lot of people are going to be jazzed up on a new goal and firing on all cylinders and ready to commit and do it, and over time it can get harder. And I believe that it gets challenging for people over time because they confuse the order of motivation and commitment. And nobody in the world is going to wake up motivated every single day to chase something. Like you're not. It's impossible. You can't do it. You're gonna be tired, stressed out. You didn't sleep well last night. Like, oh, so many things can pop up inside your ecosystem that can pull from your needs, your wants, and your desires to pursue something. And it turns into just like whether you just don't want to do anything or you just want to just chill. But the main thing people understand is that motivation follows commitment. And the more committed you are on a daily basis, then the more motivation is going to follow, but also the more action steps you're going to be able to apply over time that can get you closer to your goals. And I think where a lot of people fail to keep in the big picture is the art of stacking days, right? Where it's like you don't need to put in hours and hours in every day. You don't need to put in crazy amounts of work and time if it's not there, if it's not there for you. And but if you can just stack stuff repeatedly, and it's a fitness perspective, make sure you're eating well. If you're not eating well, maybe you had a bad day. We'll focus on sleep and getting some movement and then restart the next day. Like, so understand that motivation follows commitment, and you need to be committed in the cylinders that are going to move the needle most for you, right? And then just stack the days. Stack the days with the path of least resistance for you and what you have going on in your life, and then look to slowly just build and build and create momentum from that. And when people can keep those two things in the front of their minds with consideration of what's going to work best for them, not what they read or what they see from other people, then they're going to have a lot more success of just getting a little closer each day to what their goal is.
Yeah. With your roster, because obviously you skew toward that that type of personality who's like hyper competitive, big goals, like going after big things. Do you find that this is the conversation you are having more often, or is it the opposite side where they want to do more or they think they need to do more and you're kind of like pulling them back because you're thinking about longevity and whatever portion of the program design you're focused on achieving at that moment?
It's a great question too. I've actually done both, and I used to train. I'm not going to say her name, but high prolific CrossFit Games athlete, it's female who she's absolutely killing it. And I was working with her when she was in teenage competing, and she was getting pushed from people around her to do more, do more, do more, and I wouldn't allow it. I didn't believe in it. I was thinking of longevity and what I thought would be best for her to continually develop. So we kind of parted ways because I was standing firm and not trying to overdo it for her where she was, and she wanted to keep going. Now, with that being said, she's had extensive amounts of success. So who's to say who was right or wrong in that situation? But that's an example of working with a high level athlete who wanted more, and I didn't think they should be doing more at that point. You know, I thought we still had a lot of framework to build upon to get there. And I've also had athletes who um, have to keep reminding them that the journey is challenging. It is. It's challenging for everybody. There's gonna be lots of setbacks and lots of things that pop up that are gonna continually try to pull you off track. And also you might not achieve your goal. Like, just because you bust your tail every single day and you do everything right is no guarantee that you're going to achieve what you set out to achieve. It just, in my opinion, means that you can have a seat at the table. And but for those athletes, they have to appreciate they have to be able to appreciate that journey, to appreciate the effort they're putting in. And as long as they're doing that, be okay with that. And I feel like I can have that conversation with a lot of people because I was there on both sides. You know, coming up playing basketball, I was always like, well, if I just work harder than everybody else, I will achieve my goal, right? It's going to happen. I'm going to get overseas. I'm going to play professional basketball. It's going to happen. And it didn't, right? It didn't. And other people were better than me. It didn't work hard as me. And, you know, going through college, I was like, why, this isn't supposed to be what happens, right? It's supposed to be, you're a good person, you work hard, you achieve your goals, right? That's the bill that was sold. But it's not true. However, you can't be achievement driven, right? You have to be able to get fulfillment from the work. And when you're able to switch that mindset, it makes everything more enjoyable and it preserves the love of what you're doing. And in my opinion, it allows you to stay more motivated throughout the ebbs and flows of the journey of pursuing a goal, right? And eventually I did get overseas, just the backtrack for that, and that ended quickly, but due to injury. But it was a hard lesson for me, very challenging lesson, one that I had to do lots of soul searching for when I was in college, because I was like, this isn't what we're told, you know, not breakdowns and resort to all those types of stuff. But I feel like I just ranted and I might have gone off script.
No, no, I like it. I was thinking like, because you kind of answered where I wanted to go when you were chatting. What thought came to my mind was like, I guess I'm wondering of the client roster that you're working with or the personalities that are drawn to you, do you find they come in very like outcome focused, Or are they more like they already know the process is the thing they want to master and fall in love with, and that's their why? Or are you having to do a lot of like nurturing in that coaching relationship to take them from the outcome focus to get to a place where they're like, no, I'm about the process and living the process?
Honestly, I think about this a lot, and it comes down to their history in sport growing up. And I feel like individuals who have played sports growing up understand the process more, understand what it takes, understand the ebbs and flows, and understand that it might work out and it might not work out. And they have the competition IQ and they have the training IQ. I feel like individuals that get into CrossFit at doesn't matter the age, but they don't really come from a sporting background. They're more outcome driven, thinking like, oh, like this is CrossFit. I'm gonna do this and follow your programming, and you're my coach, and I'm gonna make the games. It's like, well, no, like I could hire Derek Jeter's batting coach. It doesn't mean I'll be able to hit, Paul Skeens throwing pitching to me, right? So it's understanding the ability to understand the journey differs for people, in my opinion, depending upon where they're coming from and how they were talked to, and because that being able to have that mindset of enjoying that journey is challenging, and to me, it takes years of just having people speaking to you about it and getting you to understand it and think about it and process it. It's not something that just happens automatically, right? Mindset is something that has to be continually worked upon by
It's almost like
people.
you have to really help them like be able to zone out everything else, right? Because I think it's like when you start to play the comparison game, or when you start paying too much attention to what others are doing in the space that's like connected to the outcome you want to chase after, those are the triggers that kind of like push you back into that zone. If you've gotten, let's say you had that breakthrough, that clients like really focus on the process, they're just like dialed in, doing the things, everything's flowing. But then when they fall out, it's typically because of that. Like how often in the coaching process are you having to have those conversations about like just locking in and staying in your own zone?
All the time, all the time, because social media is a highlight reel, right? Everyone like posts like their greatest stuff. So someone might pull up somebody and see their greatest things, like, oh, why are they there and I'm not? Or why are they doing that and I'm not doing that? And then, I didn't quite get to where I want to get to, but they did, and they're doing this. And it becomes this constant, it can become a constant comparison, which, comparison is the thief of joy. And we got to be able to stay locked into our own path and our journey, which to me is extremely challenging to do in this day and age because of everything that's thrown in our face from everybody else around us. Like, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as social media, right? There's no such thing as any of this. So it was just like, well, I just need to assume that everybody else is training, and I just have to train my ass off, try to outwork everybody else, and just put the assumption on that they're outworking me. But I have no idea what they're doing or how they're doing it or where they are, unless something's written about them in a newspaper, right? So I feel like it was a lot easier to stay locked in to your own journey, where nowadays, like, you're doom scrolling on your phone for an hour, 2 hours, just looking at everyone and everything else that's not you or not where you are, which can weigh on you mentally for people that fall into that trap.
Are there any daily practices, or I don't know, projects or tasks that you kind of are your go-to for either yourself personally or for your kids or for any of the athletes that you're working with, that you're like, when someone's really struggling with something like that, that you like, this is like the exercise you want them to take on, or I don't know, whatever that
Yeah,
sparks?
that's a great question. I've gone through a lot of things with that. I myself used to do wake up every morning and do breathing work and journaling and this whole process that was almost like 20 or 30 minutes, which was great. And it created a lot of great self-reflection and development, but also like a lot of time consuming, and after a while I was like, man, I'm just not going to maintain this. I feel like I can just talk about things with people I need to talk about and grow. But with athletes, like, they need that self-reflection. They need to journal. They need to create stories around things that are happening. So I think a very impactful course that I went through was with Mark England, and it was in Lifted level 1 and Lifted level 2. And he does a really good job of getting people to create stories around trauma and things that can create a negative mindset, whether it's from performance anxiety and other situations. And I've gone through storytelling with athletes around factual situations that have occurred with them, just to to kind of like create a realization around it and to bring it to light and then get rid of it, right? And that's helped with some athletes. And with other athletes, we just done lots of journaling around certain things. And with other athletes, it's been around continually talking about goals and understanding what those goals are and refreshing those goals and what the path is for them to achieve those goals. And for some athletes, it's talking about their past and why certain things might trigger a certain behavior reaction that isn't advantageous for where they are now. And to me, in that situation, there's no one thing that someone can do that's always going to work. It's up to the coach to understand that archetype of the athlete and what's really going to connect with them in that moment or over moments and experiences to get them to be able to move past something that might be blocking them, get them to be able to refocus, to recenter, to understand where they are and where they're trying to go to see that path. And it's just like anything else, right? You have principles and methods in strength and conditioning. And if you understand the methods and you can have multiple, if you understand the principles and you can have multiple methods that can continually plug and play based around driving the right stimulus to drive adaptation for the athlete. And I think the same concept applies to mindset work and getting people to understand that process of the journey, which is what's going to trigger and work for them, as long as they understand the root cause and root principle of getting it to be effective for them.
This might be like, I don't know, a tactical question that leads nowhere because I'm obviously not a coach, but so you tell me wherever it takes you to. But in the process for you are you checking in on that, like where they are at mentally, more in like feedback on daily workouts, like in the kind of responses that you're asking for and how they're giving you information in the daily training session, in a weekly check-in, or in a consult, or is it more just like you get a vibe and you're like digging in to figure it out in messaging?
Yeah, I get a vibe. You know, I get a good understanding of how someone likes to communicate and what the language is. And then when I detect differentiation from that, I try to figure out why and where it is, whether it's, you know, and if their performance is off and sort of like their language and word choicing is different or more negative, then I'll look to have a conversation and dive a bit deeper or just kind of talk to them about it. But to me, it's the first stage is getting a sound understanding of that person and how that person operates and what kind of communication does well for this person and the type of archetype that person is, right? Are they like, you know, a numbers data driven person? Are they emotional field style person? Are they more like, if someone's more like a soldier type person where they're just going to do whatever I tell them, I got to understand that as well. Because because then that can be detrimental from having to do shit that they shouldn't be doing, but they're just doing because I'm telling them to do it. So the more I understand the archetype of the person and then the more I understand the communication ways of the person, then the more I can get a good vibe of when things might be going off track and I need to recenter them.
I love that. Well, we didn't really hit any of the questions. Well, we hit the compliance question, but so I'll close with, did you have anything top of mind when it's like, and I know this is like a trendy thing to go off of, like coaching trends that need to die or go away forever. Is there anything that stands out to you that is like, man, I'm seeing this trend that other coaches are getting on and I feel like it needs to go away. It's not good for the industry, or anything that stands out to you?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and I don't think I pay enough attention to understand what trends are happening, which might be a bad thing for me. I don't really kind of pay attention to trends. I don't really follow people that I don't think bring value to me, you know? So if I see like weird stuff getting posted, I'm just like, oh God. And I kind of like glance over quickly. So
maybe this will, or like when the coaches that are coming into the mentorship, are there like, is there a question that they're commonly asking you where you're like, you don't even need to worry about that?
You know, there's not, because so much of our mentorship is based, it's all principles, right? So we open up from the beginning about like, you know, principles of strength and conditioning and how you can apply that to mixed modal athlete settings. So trends that I think should stop.
Or just maybe like things that they have in their mind that they're like, as a coach, it's like, this is the thing I need to do.
Shoot something over to me that you've heard of. Tell me one thing.
David went the content route when I asked him. He was like, reaction videos. Like I think coaches doing reaction videos to
Oh God,
people or
that's fucking
coaches.
home run. That is a home run that he said. I 100% agree. Where it's like, yeah, like a coach's face reaction to someone else saying something. I'm like, why? Like who? Yeah, like. But that goes back to our conversation last week about content, right, and being louder and dumber. So
Or I
yeah,
think one you would obviously agree with because you're an individual design coach is coaches just leaning into like I want an easy way or an automated way to make money without working, right? Like I'm going to sell this template, but I'm not actually going to coach.
yeah, I can't get mad at that because I've seen some people become millionaires off doing that, right? And it's like, and there's people that like that and want to follow that, and some people want just like a cheap template. They don't care about feedback, and they're jumping template to template. And if that's someone's go-to and they can make a lot of money off it, man, God bless them. I wish I could figure out a way to do less work and make more money, right? But I think like from a trend standpoint, yeah, I couldn't agree with what David said more, but yeah, I'm not familiar with too many trends out there, actually.
Yeah. I guess maybe another one, which I see a lot of, is like demonizing other coaching behaviors or
Oh
I
God,
don't know,
yeah,
if someone has a very
yeah, like there's enough hate in this world, enough people like tearing people apart. It's like, to me, the easiest thing anybody can do is look at another person's program, look at what someone else is doing, and critique it because you don't know the context of what's happening. You don't know the context of where they are, the development they got to get there. Like you don't know anything, right? I look at the greatest strength coaching program in the world, look at it and talk trash about it, but what does that prove? Like it doesn't prove anything. It's like trying to lead and get people through a negative situation, and to me, it's like that's just. But unfortunately, like that's what the world loves. Like negativity, like the most
drama.
contagious thing in the world isn't a positive action; it's a negative thought, right? And the more people lead with that, unfortunately, people kind of gravitate into that, which is frustrating. But yeah,
Yeah.
don't do that. If you guys are saying don't talk trash about other things with people. Like that's the easiest thing to do. And to me, like that's such a low level concept.
Yeah. The last thought I'll just share, because I shared this with a group of our ambassadors in the ambassador chat. I was like, hey, why do people not comment anymore? Right. And we kind of touched on this a little bit anymore, but it's like, remember when Follow Friday was a thing when like Instagram first came off and you couldn't wait to like showcase all the people you thought were really cool and doing awesome stuff and just give them flowers for a minute. And now it's like everyone's so, I don't know, afraid of looking silly or afraid of even showing support to someone else that they don't even comment on other people's posts with like even a positive thing, right? I'm like, let's make our crew like the people who are like so supportive and encouraging and just hype for other people.
Yeah, I think that's something that's unfortunately has gone away is people's support of other people. They almost feel like it's going to detract from them, but it's not. It's
There
just
is
going to add
so much
value.
room for success
Yeah,
that like, if that's your mindset, we need to work on that mindset.
seriously. Yeah.
I love that. Well, is there any closing thoughts that you have on a Tuesday afternoon?
No, as always, this was fun. I enjoyed it.
No, thank you so much for just sharing wisdom with us. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much. See you next week. Have a
Say hi
great
to
day.
the kiddos.
I will.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks for popping in and out, crew. Again, the comments are always open. If you have questions that you want me to run by the coaches, I'm always game to chat about those. But make sure you are hitting the podcast main page, checking out all the shows, getting those blog roundup emails and getting the emails and the blogs on the roundup so that you can catch up on the episodes. Make sure you're subscribing to the shows. And again, I can't say enough how awesome the content is that these coaches are pumping out for you guys on a weekly basis. So just be sure to jump in. And again, this was the last week of us saying like, hey, in August, let's do something new. Let's try to go live each week and see how it goes. Sorry, my throat's kind of scratching. I was trying to avoid coughing into the mic. But thank you for those of you who have, checked in and enjoyed any of these lives that we've done in August. And if you want us to keep them going, we will work on that. Give us some feedback in any of the comments on the lives, or feel free to message me on the OPEX account or the CoachRx account or my personal account. I'm usually behind them all. And just appreciate you guys. Hope you're having a great week, and I'll see you soon.